President Tinubu addresses the nation, calls on Nigerians to own Nigeria. Also, we take a look at the theme of this year's independence anniversary, renewed hope for unity and prosperity. And finally, last but not least, we take a look at Nigeria's thriving music industry 63 years after the nation's independence from colonial rule. This is Business Insight. My name is Vivian Oguche, and you are welcome aboard. Alfreda Ambe Albasi is standing by to take us through the day's top stories. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Vivian. A very beautiful morning to you. And still in the spirit of independence, happy 63 Nigeria. The latest business updates and market trends comes up after this break. Thank you for staying with us. Negotiations between the Nigerian federal government and National Labour Congress (NLC) and Trade Union Congress (TUC) have raised doubts about the impending strike. Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, who led the federal government team, announced after the meeting that the government and members of the NLC and TUC reached agreements, which the labour officials will take back to their respective organs for ratification. Amongst the issues discussed was the decision by the federal government to spread the minimum wage increase across all the cadres of the federal civil servants, as against the earlier announcement by President Bola Tinubu to limit the 25,000 naira to the low-grade workers. Presidents of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, and other labour leaders will present these decisions to their various organizations. And moving on, Nigerian Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo has reiterated the federal government's dedication to improving data management through the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had assigned NIMC the task of harmonizing the nation's databases to enhance identity and security. Dr. Tunji-Ojo stressed the need for a technology-driven data hub within the Interior Ministry, consolidating identity documents for improved travel document integrity and streamlined access to services like passport applications and BVN registration using the National Identification Number, NIN. The minister advocated integrating various identification documents like driving licenses, passports, BVNs, and national identity cards into digital chips to enhance government program execution for national development. Coming up next is the stock, commodities, and currency market trends after this break. Welcome back. At the close of the latest trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 292,943,362 shares were traded in 6,323 deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange stands at 36,300 billion naira. 115 equities listed on the NGX were involved in trading. The day ended with 30 gainers and 23 losers. Consolidated Hallmark Insurance led the gainers with a 9.57% increase in share price, closing at 1 naira 26 kobo per share. It was followed by Computer Warehouse Group, Nigerian Exchange Group, and RT Briscoe. On the losing side, Boa Cement experienced the most significant decrease with a 10% drop in the end-of-day price, reaching 85 naira 50 kobo per share. This was followed by Triple G and Co, Owando, and John Holt. Fidelity Bank had the highest trading volume with 48,600,000 shares traded, followed by Universal Insurance Company, Wema Bank, and Access Holdings. The current price of wheat is 540.50 US cents per unit. In the commodity market, gold is trading at 1,848.31 US dollar per unit, while silver is priced at 22.16 US dollar per unit. Copper is valued at 3.73 US dollar per unit, and Brent crude is currently at 92.20 US dollars per barrel. It's a wrap on the business news this morning. Vivian Oguche is sitting pretty and ready to take you on the next segment. Keep watching Business Insight.
You're welcome back. Right, so this is a special edition as we are still basking in the euphoria of Nigeria's 63rd birthday anniversary. I mean, the land is green, and I've got the producer, the director of that song that was done by T.Y. Bello, yeah, in the house with us. But that's going to come a little bit later. For starters, why don't we take a listen to President Tinubu's speech? Right, he addressed the nation, and one of the things he said was that Nigerians should own Nigeria, that it's a project for all of us. Why don't you take a listen to President Tinubu, and when we come back, I and my guests, 4 gentlemen, 2 virtually, 2 in-house, will dive into analyzing the president's speech as well as other topics on the show today. Take a listen.
It's remarkable in its formation, an essential character. We are a broad and dynamic blend of ethnic groups, religious, tradition, and cultures. Yet, our bonds are yet intangible, strong, invisible, yet universal. We are joined by a common thirst for peace and progress, by the common dream of our prosperity, and harmony, and by the unified ideas of tolerance and justice. Forging a nation based on the fair application of these noble principles to a diverse population has been a task of significant blessing, but also serious challenge. Some people have said an independent Nigeria should never have come into existence. Some have said that our country will be torn apart. They are forever mistaken. Here, our nation stands, and here we shall remain.
So you heard it from the horse's mouth. President Tinubu said, our nation stands, and here it will remain. All right, so I'll do an introduction right now. Abe Olayinka, popularly known as Genie Teku. He is a documentary filmmaker, producer, entrepreneur, and promoter, and he's right here in the house with us today. It's nice to have you join us, Abe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so do I say happy Independence Anniversary in arrears?
I guess so. It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I also got with us here a veteran journalist and broadcaster, Bayo Olaoye. It's good to see you, Bayo.
It's a pleasure.
How are you doing today? It's good to have you. All right. So I also have joining us via Zoom, Idahosa Osamaze. He is the Vice President, Femi Walsh Media. He is going to be joining us in a little bit. Also, Martin Onovo. Martin Onovo is a Nigerian politician, and he represented the National Conscience Party during the 2015 presidential election, and is currently a member of the Institute of Transport Administration, Nigeria Society of Engineers. Do we have Martin? All right, I understand Martin is going to be joining us shortly as well, and they are both going to be reacting to President Bola Tinubu's speech to the nation on the 1st of October, which happened to be yesterday, Monday. But let me begin with my in-house guests here. I'll begin with you, Abby. The president's speech, what's your takeaway?
I would say I would pick two things out from that, and it would be culture and tradition. Mm-hmm. I feel that Nigeria in the last 10 years have some, we're literally everywhere. You know, we're trending everywhere all around the world. You know, I feel that...
In a good way?
In a good way. You know, I would say music first. I would pick out on the music. I'll touch on the music. I think, you know, years ago we used to listen to all the international songs and stuff around in Nigeria. Every bar, club, wherever you go to, in our cars, on the radio, everything has to, everything at that time was international music, you know, so we've come quite a long way with our sound, with Afrobeats, with different genres of music.
So the reverse is the case now. When you go to many bars and lounges, what you hear is Nigerian music, not international music. Abroad, so we are exporting our taste now.
Precisely. And, you know, from the president's speech, he had mentioned, you know, obviously our culture and tradition, and people want more of that, you know, so I feel that we're responsible for actually telling our own stories aside of music, aside of, you know, the lyrical contents that we share to the world, you know, so culture and tradition is what I like about the speech.
All right, let me come to you, Bayo. The president also talked about Nigerians owning Nigeria, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What impressed you most about the president's speech? I guess the first question should be, were you impressed by his speech?
I wasn't.
Why? Why?
The appearance of the president himself wasn't encouraging. He was a bit stressed up, and shows the enormity of the problems before him.
Yeah, but remember, he just wrapped up an appearance at the United General Assembly.
He was a bit stressed.
Okay.
But let me look at the issue of the 15 million households that the president said he was going to give 75,000 naira in 3 months. Questions have been asked. How will the 15 million households be determined? What are the criteria for choosing these households? And then we are talking about 3 months, we are talking about 6 months. After this, what happens? This price we are talking about. 35,000 for all. It doesn't tell a good story, because after 6 months, what happens?
Yeah, but this is futuristic. How about now? I mean, Nigerians are known for crying. How about now? You're talking about long-term solutions. How about now?
But the problems we have now, there are numerous. Number one is the debt, the rising debt.
No, I'm not even talking about the problems. You're saying that what happens after these short-term solutions? Yeah, is the president not trying to pacify the group of people who are asking for short-term solutions rather than long-term solutions?
I would have preferred a long-term solution.
I
would have preferred a total increase in salaries and emoluments. And I would have preferred the bloated civil service to be reduced. These are wastages. Governors also should be going to state capitals. Governors, they live like emperors. They just collect handouts, and at the end of the day, nothing happens. They are not creative.
Yeah, but those are not things that are going to be addressed in a presidential speech for the independence anniversary, are they? These are things that, you know, unfold as an administration continues its work. So don't you think? It's not something that happens at once.
But we need to do things holistically.
Okay.
I would have suggested that salary increase will have been effected. There should have been a salary increase, and then maybe there will be the transportation issue of bringing buses using gas.
Which he promised.
And
he said it was going to be made very fast, which is going to happen soon. That's according to what he said in his speech. Right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about palliatives and how what we say here at Souq News is social intervention schemes. One of those things is the transportation system in Lagos, where you have the blue light rail system right now at a highly subsidized rate.
Yes.
It's one of the things that the administration is doing to ensure that Nigerians do not go through too much hardship. What do you think about that?
For transportation?
Yeah.
I think we have to use mass transit.
Okay.
The Lagos State government has set up its own blue line. Yeah. And the red line is expected. I think we should tow that line.
Absolutely. Isidahosa are ready for us. I'd like to have him react to President Tinubu's speech. Okay, as soon as Isidahosa is ready, he's going to be reacting to President Tinubu's speech. Also, Martin Onovo will be reacting to President Tinubu's speech. Now, one of the things the president said, I'm going to read it out to you. It's an next part of his speech. He said, "I am attuned to the hardship that have come to the sea." And he said, "I wish to explain to you why we must endure this trying moment." He said, "Those who sought to perpetuate the fuel subsidy and broken foreign exchange policies are people who will build their family mansions in the middle of a swamp. I am different. I am not a man to erect a national home on a foundation of mud. To endure, our home must be constructed on safe and pleasant ground." What do you think, Bayo and Abi?
Our home must be
built on safe and pleasant ground.
Well, I'm happy you said that, because clearly, you know, in Nigeria, there's a lot of insecurity in Nigeria. And when you talk about safety, you know, I think it cuts across the board in Nigeria. I feel that we need a detribalized Nigeria where, you know, we don't say someone's from Yoruba, someone's Yoruba, or someone's Igbo or Hausa. We need to begin to have the unity that he did mention there. You know, I don't see that yet. You know, I mean, social media or digital noise, as you want to call it, you know, is a classic example of how separated Nigerians can be. So yeah, I would prefer, as I said the other day, I would prefer some kind of unification, or some kind of program, obvious and visible programs that unify us as Nigerians.
Fantastic. Do you want to react to that bio? He was talking about unity and prosperity, which happens to be a theme of this year's celebration. Renewed hope for unity and prosperity.
The institutions promoting national unity have been rubbished. For instance, the National Youth Service Corps, which is a main source of promoting rubbished. For instance, the National Youth Service Corps, which is a main source of promoting national unity in this country. It's been rubbished by lawmakers. Some people are complaining, and there is no security for these corpers. And
what do you mean it's been rubbished by national?
Some people are calling for the scrapping of the NYSC.
Yeah, but has it been scrapped?
No, but
no,
you know we can't generalize.
The body language of most people is that it should go.
Most people, I don't understand what you mean by most people.
Most Nigerians, some Nigerians.
Do you think it should be scrapped?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I feel that it gives each
integration. I mean,
there's a lot of integration going on there, and I like the fact that even if you studied in Lagos, you're able to go to Kaduna for your service, or vice versa. They go to the eastern parts of Nigeria and stuff. So I don't think it should be scrapped. It could be worked on. It could be a little bit better, as in the safety aspect of protecting, that the generation of people that are actually serving is very, very paramount. So you've seen in past elections that they've been attacked, they've been sometimes killed and stuff like that. So we want to really work on that. I don't think it should be scrapped, sir.
Yeah. So you were talking about body language and most Nigerians. So when you want to generalize and say most Nigerians, we are Nigerians. And he just said he doesn't think it should be scrapped. So when you're saying most Nigerians, I'm wondering if you did an empirical, a random selection of Nigerians who wanted it scrapped or something.
No, as a result of recent kidnappings of youth corpers, most people were feeling that, let's say some leaders were feeling that, well, don't let's go this whole hall, let's scrap it. But I went through it and I know what it is, the attributes of going through that channel.
Yeah, I went through it as well. I served in Akwa Ibom and it was very interesting, serving in that state. Very rich culture and all of that.
Another thing, I mentioned it earlier, is the lifestyle of our mode of governance. For instance, the governors. The governors, they are obsessed with flamboyant lifestyle. You cannot allow that. They live like emperors.
Yeah, you already mentioned that before.
Yes. Just to go to Abuja and get handouts and come back and do nothing to generate revenue or whatever in the state. This has to be checked.
Yeah.
As it is now, the governors are the most powerful group of people in the polity. Yeah,
but that's a little bit different from what we are talking about today. While we wait for Idahosa to react to President Tinubu's speech, why don't we quickly talk about the other part of the show, the other topic we have in stock for us, which is Nigeria's thriving music industry. I got a soundbite I would love for you to listen to. Take a listen, we'll be right back.
Me ojú ẹlẹ́gbà, they know my story. From old dog studio.
People look go foot. Them come get big pick up.
Well, I was trying to take you down memory lane when we played a little bit of Fela's music as well as Ujuelegba by Wizkid. We also had Magic Fashek, Send Down the Rain. I don't know if you got to hear that. But, you know, we want to take a look at the transition the music industry has made in Nigeria from independence till date. I mean, Nigerians are winning Grammy Awards now. Wizkid, by the way, is one of those who won Grammy Awards. But I've been told that Idahosa is ready to join us. Idahosa is ready. So before we talk about Nigeria's thriving music industry, why don't we quickly listen to Idahosa's reaction to President Tinubu's speech. Idahosa, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Good morning, Vivian.
Okay, I have a little bit of difficulty hearing you, but I'll just ask you, what do you think of the president's speech to Nigerians, the one he made on the 1st of October?
Well, I think that the address to the nation, as it is written and delivered to my way or little way of looking at things, there are no KPIs to measure how an address should look like. For me, I think the president just spoke from his heart to Nigerians because of the challenges and the kind of commentary that is out there in the streets concerning the decision to remove fuel subsidy and the decision to allow the exchange rate to float. All these things are geared toward having an economy that is robust, an economy that is sustainable, which of course in the long run will be for the good of all of us as Nigeria. Like the president rightly said in the address, of course the pain can be felt by anybody. All of us can see it. The hardship is on the street, as it were. But there's something he said in there that for me, which is very critical, and that's what you mentioned alluded to earlier. The president says, I am compassionate leader. I am a visionary leader. And when he says, I have a heart that feels and I have an eye that can see, that's a metaphor to speak to compassion, which is critical element to leadership, and vision, which is also very important to leadership. So the address, they were all leading with a lot of metaphorical statements that present to Nigerians how the president feels in his heart. He spoke to the quality of all Nigerians, and Nigerians belong to all of us, and we need to salvage it together. And these are the issues that the president has spoken to in the address. The promises that were made at the inaugural address in May 29 this year, that of course there's going to be critical and deep reform in the public service and the way business of government is done. And some of the effort that are taken at the interim to see how we can address this issue so that shared prosperity, which he promised, we can enjoy it. The truth of the matter is that all of us must realize that if we plant a corn today, we cannot start to harvest it tomorrow. And that is the pain that comes with every reform. We will not be able to see the fruit immediately. And what the president is trying to speak to is that all of us will need to be patient. And as a leader, he's saying to us, he feels our pain, he understands how we feel, how bad and challenging the situation can be, but a little more of endurance will actually bring us to that Eldorado which all of us seek. That for me is my takeaway from the address to the nation. But Some of the issues that, of course, we, may also look at in detail is some of those promises that are made in that address. For example, the president spoke to about making some money available to 15 million vulnerable Nigerians. What I don't know about this is whether it's going to be an investment loan or a kind of investment grant, or it's just for money to buy fuel. If that is what it is, it may not be too good for the economy at the moment, because if you put that together at 25,000 in for 15 million people, that's about 1 trillion, and that can do a lot in terms of doing some capital project that can really get some Nigerians to be employed, and then of course indirect employment will be created in the longer run. And I think this is where, of course, our social intervention should go at the moment, not really giving handout to people that they will eat and then, of course, they forget about it.
Fantastic. I mean, while you were talking, my guests in-house were nodding their head. It seemed like they were in agreement with all you've said. But also, one of the stories that broke over the night was the likely suspension of a proposed strike by the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC. Idahosa, this administration has succeeded in deflecting a strike before. Do you see that happening again? And can we hope to see a permanent resolution of this crisis?
I spoke earlier on this morning to say that Nigerians, we must begin to take our pen and paper to do some mathematics. And this is very important for us. Yes, while we understand that there are challenges that people are facing, but we must not also be blind to the challenge the nation itself is facing. And we are being told by government as we speak that, of course, about 90%, above 90% of our total revenue is at the moment being expended to service the debt that has been incurred by previous administration. That's a huge challenge. Now, we must realize this, that of course we cannot continue to borrow and expect that the economy will grow. And this is where, for me, labor need to be a little more reasonable in terms of putting demand before government. There are a few things that can be done. We know what the economy is saying. We can calculate on our calculator how much we are selling crude and how much money is accruable to Nigeria. We are seeing the multiple taxation as it's ruining companies and corporations. And all these things, we cannot continue it and think that we are going to help the system. That's where the parable of the president in saying that he won't be among those who will want to build family house in the means of a swamp, because if, of course, erosion and flood come, it will sweep it away, like the biblical parable of a man who built his house on sand. We must need to create a solid base where these things have to be built. And I think this is where labor really need to come clean, even to the negotiation table, to tell government, are there positive things they think that can be done by government in the interim to actually generate the necessary revenue to really ameliorate the problem that we are currently going through. Putting government even to more hardship by pressuring that they want to go on strike, for me, it's not reasonable, it's not realistic, and it's not sensible.
Fantastic. So let's bring it back home. Diversifying the economy, you spoke to the nation's economy and how things must be done to ensure that Nigeria is prosperous again, which speaks to the theme of this year's anniversary celebration, which happens to be renewed hope for unity and prosperity. Now, how about diversifying the economy through Nigeria's music industry? Let me tell you a little bit about Nigeria's music industry. Also, I'll have you react to that later on, but I've got, a player in the industry who happens to be here, and he's going to be reacting to that for starters. Now, Nigeria's music industry is the second largest in Africa, with a thriving music scene that is becoming increasingly popular worldwide, with a vast array of genres, including Afrobeat. You listened to Fela earlier on. You've also got Fuji, hip-hop, and Afrofusion. Now, the industry has grown exponentially in recent years. So Bayo here happens to be the director of T.Y. Bellows, the great...
Genie.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Genie. Genie happens to be the director of T.Y. Bellows, The Land is Green. He told me also, this is a scoop, that he was also on Da Green's beat, the late Da Green, who happened to be very popular in his day and time. So, Ginny, this is your forte, right? Let's talk about Nigeria's thriving music industry, from what it used to be to winning Grammys. Now, tell us some of your exploits too in that industry.
I mean, I can say I'm very proud of where we are musically. I feel that, you know, when you look, as I said earlier, you know, when you look back, you know, we've really come a long way with our sound, with our music and stuff. What's interesting is when you hear the likes of Ashake in New York City, and people are humming, and Jamaicans are there jumping to his music and stuff. They necessarily don't have, they necessarily don't understand what he's saying, but I feel it's the sound. So I feel that there's a shift in the world where, you know, it's, you know, the focus is really on Africa. The focus is on Nigeria. Look at how we've taken South African sound and kind of made it ours. You know, so I feel that people are ready for our sound, are ready for our music. I'm not surprised that we've trickled up, I don't want to say down, we've trickled up into the Grammys and stuff like that. And I feel that the world should expect more, you know, Nigerians taking over. You know, it cuts across just across everything, you know, from the music scene to Nollywood, you know, to food. You know, people talk about jollof rice.
Yeah, I mean, there was a debate about jollof rice and once upon a time.
My thing is, yes, I'm very proud of where we are. You know, I mean, we could do a little bit more, we could do better here in Nigeria, you know, even with our awards and stuff like that, you know, to match those international festivals that happen here.
Yeah, so tell us about some of your acts and what you've done on their beats.
Well, in 2007, yeah, I directed the video "The Land Is Green," T.Y. Bello. I had just come back into Nigeria at that time, and I just landed. I don't know how I landed it, but I got in there. I was through church, yeah, I was through church and stuff. You know, I got in there, and same as "The Land Is Green" in 2007. You know, you could see in the video that there was a diverse set of different people. T.Y. Bello had done. She had brought all these people from all walks of life to come to the video, and I like that about the video. Lyrically, it's I'm a lyrical person, so I like to listen to the lyrics before I actually do the videos. It moves on to Da Green also in 2009, I think. Kundayo with T.Y. Bello and then Da Green. His lyrical content got me immediately. You understand? You know, Molen Bi Pom Pom Pom, Mama Naijani Mi, stuff like that. You know, so when you live abroad, people want to identify with us, with our sound, with our lyrics, and sometimes people can literally see what we do and who we are through the lyrics without actually showing the visuals. So Da Green's video was one of the first that I did where I wanted to show, you know, the raw, the you know, the grittiness of who we are, you know, our neighborhood, the tribal marks, the streetness. You know, people don't really, you know, people are ashamed to come out and say, okay, we have tribal marks, or, you know, we're carrying oranges or something like that. So which is what the video was about, and luckily for us, it was
widely accepted.
It was widely accepted in Nigeria, in Lagos, well, Nigeria, and that made me kind of, you know, just up the ladder a little bit in directing. All
right, let me talk to Bayo, because I saw him nodding his head. Let's talk about the acceptability of Nigerian music and the thriving industry, you know, that thriving industry, and how it can help build Nigerians' brand and economy as well. Are you impressed with how far our musicians have gone?
Yes, I'm impressed, but they need better management. They need to know a little bit about contracts and legal documents and what have you. Some of them are around themselves aground but we're not knowing what they're signing. And then they need some kind of technology, collaboration.
Which is happening.
It's happening, but they need sort of empowerment, if you want to say that. I understand the Lagos government is arranging something for artists who want to shoot films, so the government needs to encourage them. And
what's your favorite music?
All sorts. I'll prefer Ebenezer Obey.
Really?
Juju. Timeless, evergreen.
Evergreen. Let me take it back to Dr. Idahosa. I want to find out what his favorite song is. So Bayo's song is Ebenezer. Okay, his artist, one of his favorite artists is Ebenezer Obey. Doctor, what kind of music do you listen to?
Afrobeat is good for me.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said Afrobeat is good for me.
Afrobeat. All right, so let's talk about the thriving music industry, Nigeria's thriving music industry, which happens to be the second largest in Africa. Are you impressed, and what more would you like to see in that industry?
I think that Nigeria has conquered the music industry globally. And that is not, I'm not apologetic about that at all, because there's no country you get to today on earth where you won't hear Davido's song and all kind of songs coming from Nigeria. Indians are enjoying it, Europeans are enjoying it, Americans are enjoying it. So even in the Asia region, people are enjoying Nigerian music everywhere. And so that tells you that really we have really conquered that ground. And is making so much for the nation, because it's also contributing greatly to the GDP of this nation. I think all that we can do is to continue to support that industry, encourage younger people to take up leverage on what their peers are doing in that industry and make really more money for themselves and for the country at large.
All right, so thank you so much. Just for you to know, I'm bringing it back to the studio in a little while, but the industry, the music industry as we speak, generates over $2 billion in revenue per year, making it one of the largest music industries in the world. Also, Ginny here, who happens to be a player in the industry, wants to talk about management, I'm sure in reaction to what Bayo said earlier on. Ginny?
Yes, thank you for that. Management is so key in the music industry. You know, I feel that there's a lot of youngsters out there. You know, they feel that once they get into the studio, they're going to make a song, and then, you know, some miracle is going to happen, or you go around. You know, obviously management involves you. Imagine I sponsor an artist. You understand? I'm basically investing in an artist. I'm probably going to just lock the guy in or the girl inside there and make sure that this is how we should do this and stuff. So people need to actually get a little bit more trained about how to manage musicians. I remember when we lost that green, obviously it was kind of, you know, attached to bad management, because you don't invest all that money in an artist and have him driving around at night and stuff like that. So people need to really, you know, fill the knowledge gaps and, you know, learn a little bit more about how to manage musicians and stuff, because it's a growing industry. The new media is growing every day. I feel that management is key in that, you know. So people can do it by themselves, but I feel that management is good. Look at the recent thing going on with the, I don't want to mention the name.
You can, it's free. I think I know who you're talking about.
Right,
already.
but you know, the Malians and the guy we just, Mobile that we just lost. It's such a shame that, you know, we had to see stuff like that goes on behind the scenes, you know, and clearly that's bad management and poor management coming from that team. All right, we are wrapping up now. Your final words as we wrap up for Nigeria. I'm celebrating Nigerians. Not Nigeria. Okay. You know. That's a very pregnant statement. Okay. Which we might unpack some other time. Bayodu, what are your last words?
I want the leadership to take the people into consideration. There's something called public interest and there's something called private interest. Let the leaders follow public interest.
Fantastic. All right. Let's have Idahosa give us his final words. Your take, Idahosa, as we wrap this up, as regards what you expect Nigeria to be like, say 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
The promise is great. We just need to keep faith. We need to be very hopeful. Nothing is wrong with Nigeria. What is wrong with Nigeria is Nigerians. And we need to really have a mind shift and then prioritize our nation above selfish and individual interests. And when the collective is elevated over and above the parochial, that Eldorado that all of us hope for, that nation of our dream will be bettered. So Nigeria need to know that it is the collective prosperity of each and every one of us that will make for the prosperity of our nation. So we all are stakeholders. We must play our part, and that is the only way the game will be balanced and we will win at the end of the day.
Fantastic. You know, this is huge. I mean, Idahosa says the only problem with Nigeria is Nigerians. And then Ginny here says he celebrates Nigerians and not Nigeria. But then President Tinubu says Nigeria must be owned by Nigerians. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the show today. Unfortunately, Martin Onova couldn't join us due to technicalities. We hope to bring him on the show some other time. In the meantime, Ginny, Bayo, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
It's a pleasure.
All right, and Idahosa, thank you so much for your valuable insights as usual. I appreciate it. My name is Vivian Uguche. I say thank you to everybody who contributed to making the show a huge success today. A bigger thanks to you for watching. If you did have fun, why don't you join me again, same time, same station, for another edition of Business Insight. Until then, have yourself a very, very beautiful day. Bye for now.
Green, can't you see? I can see all the harvest is ready, 'cause he told me so. It's green and it's all mine. As the clouds go gray, the thunder roars and the earth sings. The season's just beginning. The sunlight it hides as the clouds make way for the pouring of my blessings. I will not be afraid. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance in the rain. It's for my seed to grow. For every prayer and every seed I've sown, Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. Standing alone can be a heavy load, but my vows I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, I got a word and I won't let go. It's your will I'm seeking, so I keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance. Once again, it's time for me to grow. For every prayer and every tear I've sown, Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping joy 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me.